All right, it's our weekly presser. A couple quick things. We're honoring Omri Caspi this Thursday at City Hall. I'm very excited about that. The first Israeli born player to be able to play in the NBA, and he's done a great job for our very own Sacramento Kings. So he will be here at City Hall on this Thursday. Our City Hall meeting got moved from Tuesday to Thursday, and we'll be doing that from about 6 to 6:15. Secondly, got back from New York, and just a quick update, had a great meeting with David Stern, Commissioner of the NBA. We talked about the progress that we're making with the new entertainment and sports complex and how our desire is to have that downtown at the rail yard site connected to the intermodal. And you've heard me talk a lot about the downtown core. In fact, I did it in the State of the City. And we're going to have laser focus on the downtown core. Certainly the entertainment and sports complex contributes to that. Also had a very good meeting with the CEO of Macy's, Terry Lundgren, and we met in his corporate office in the New York Times building. It's a very impressive office, just for those who may be interested. We met for about an hour. We had a frank and very straightforward conversation. And my takeaway is this: he's very committed to the vision that we have for Downtown Plaza, and I let him know that we value Macy's. They have two buildings in the K Street Downtown Plaza. We value him, and we're committed to making sure that his stores are successful. So he has assured me that they were not going to give up on Downtown Plaza, so that was very reassuring. And then last meeting in New York of note, had a chance to meet with Mayor Bloomberg, and we talked a lot about what makes cities successful, and as a mayor, entering my 16-17 month, things that he felt that I should be thinking about. So it was, again, a growth period for me, but overall we talked about economic development and job creations across the board. All right, questions that people may have?
What should you be thinking about, according to Mayor Bloomberg?
He talked about how important it is to realize that you have to be responsive to the needs of your city. So while I talk about public safety being a top priority, while I talk about education being a top priority, while I talk about job creation and economic development being a priority, you have to not only prioritize them, you have to be able to implement, execute, and actualize whatever those happen to be. So if you take, and then he said there's things that aren't your priorities that you should be thinking about. So in Sacramento, we've been hit very hard by the foreclosure crisis. So how are we as a city responding to the needs of the people in Sacramento who are losing their homes, as well as the people in our region? And then secondly, you take the RT situation where regional transit has a $11 million deficit they've been trying to close. We just found out that I have two council members, or three, that are part of the RT board, but you're talking about cutting back routes for people, and that is very concerning to me because a lot of people, maybe not people in the room, but a lot of people rely on public transportation to get them to and fro, to get them to schools, to get them to work, and when you're cutting back on routes and you no longer can have access to RT after 9 o'clock in the evening, it puts it's devastating to a lot of people in our community. So we need to make sure that as local city government and I as a mayor are participating in those discussions and trying to find ways to, if not alleviate, certainly ease some of the burden and responsibilities that people are having when it comes to public transportation.
One of your priorities for your campaign was renovating K Street, and where do you stand on that project?
Well, again, in my State of the City a month or so ago, I talked about how important it is to renovate K Street. So, a couple things that we're doing. JK&L, it can't just be K Street. It has to connect to JK&L. Number one, I made it a big priority for 2010, that's where my focus is going to be. Number two, we're talking about bringing cars back on K Street. If you go back to the late 60s when K Street was bustling, you had vehicles on K Street. The pedestrian malls around the country are not working. There was 200 of them, and now but 30 or so have went from pedestrian back to a situation where we have vehicles on K Street. So that's number two. Number three, we're going to hire a retail recruiter. So that person's job is going to go out and try to attract retail and small businesses to come back on JK&L. Street. Number 3, we're talking about opening up the grid, meaning right now downtown Plaza is closed off. Can we open it up, meaning get some pedestrians and connect from the midtown, downtown, all the way to Old Sacramento, as well as maybe bringing 5th Street up to grade level. That would open up the grid and connect our malls with our really successful neighborhoods that we have in our community. And then lastly, which I think is also really important, is our mall is an inward facing mall. We like to make it outward facing, be able to take advantage of the blue skies and those sorts of things. So those are things that you're gonna see in 2010. On the 700 block, meaning on the east end of the downtown mall, from the 700 to 800 block, the city owns a lot of land, and we opened it up to an RFP. We received 4 very interesting proposals from different developers. They're all mixed use, so that is very exciting. You're seeing people in Sacramento saying, we're not gonna wait for the market to turn around, what can we do now? That's my commitment as a mayor, and certainly developers, just like the Entertainment and Sports Task Force. We had 7 proposals, we have 4 for the 700-800 block, which is really exciting. And then if you go down further to the where 10th, 11th, and 12th are, the owner of Entertainment District in San Francisco will be breaking ground, and those entertainment, one's a club and one's a hot dog place, should be opened in 2010 too. So that'll be, I think, really important for our community.
How much is, sorry, are you asking a follow-up?
It was just a good continuation.
Yeah.
With Hard Rock Cafe being gone now, you're gonna lose some foot traffic. Is that concerning for some of the other businesses in the area?
It's very disconcerting, and one of my commitments that I've made to all the business owners or tenants in the mall is I'm going to reach out proactively and make sure that we're not going to lose any more, or find out what can we do to help ease or get them through, and then articulate our commitment in a timeline. I mean, a lot of these people have been very patient for many years, much longer than I've been a mayor. They've been very patient, but losing Hard Rock is certainly a blow. I mean, the good news is, well, I'm not even gonna say there's good news. The bad news is Hard Rock has closed stores in other markets like our size and similar size around the country, kind of tier 2 markets. But they've continued to open stores in LA and Seattle. We are not where we need to be as a city, and that's part of my commitment, and the job that I've got to do is create an environment where we become a desirable market for people to be in, and foot traffic and housing and more retail. It's got to be a combination of all those things, and we need a real focus. We've been talking about it for 40 years. Yeah, talk is cheap right now.
Your plan's a little ambitious. Do you hope to get everything completed by this year?
No, we want to make progress on each of those. So we're talking about bringing cars back. Bikes will be coming back on K Street, so that's creating lively activity on K Street. We're hiring a retail recruiter this year. That doesn't mean we'll get tons of retail businesses this year. That will happen this year. We're studying what it would look like to open the grid and what the timing and cost of those would be. We're talking with Westfield about selling their mall. All these are things that are in motion for this year. When I talked about looking at the proposals that have come in at the 700-800 block, we will be choosing one of those developers this year. Now it'll take 18 months to 2 years to make one of those projects come to fruition. And then the San Francisco-based Capati group that will be opening 3 businesses, that will also happen this year. So there are things that are happening this year, and there are certain things that we'll plan for that will happen down the road.
The retail recruiter, is that a new position?
Yes.
How much is it going to cost? And isn't that function already handled by one, if not more, members of city or county government as it stands?
No, let me do my best to describe. That comes out of the downtown partnership. So it's not really directly out of the city. It's the downtown partnership. That position does not exist. What we did is we enlisted a group called, I think they're called DreamWorks, or anyway. Downtown Works out of Washington, D.C. And they did a study of JK&L and what are certain things that we need to do. And they felt very strongly, you've got to get retail, you've got to get small business back on K Street, JK&L. And in order to accentuate that, hiring a retail